All right, first I'm going to pinch myself to make sure I'm really here right now. First of all, thank you all for being here today. Just an incredibly interesting and unique time for all the sports. And I guess one of the first things I want to say is just a huge thank you to our entire athletic department for all the incredibly hard work. I'm not going to go through names, but it's every person from administrators to coaches. Just being able to give us an opportunity to get out there and compete. And then all the potential chaos because of trying to have all these sports going over the next few months. Just so much hard work that has gone into that to make that happen. And we are just so incredibly grateful and thankful to be able to have this opportunity. So thank you to our administration. I am just also incredibly proud of our team and just kind of how they've handled the challenges of this time. It's been very interesting, and I think one of the biggest things is we've worked really hard to, no matter what it's been, try to find a way to be positive and to have that growth mindset. And instead of having those opportunities where you could really feel sorry for yourself, just find a way to be grateful for what we actually get to do. And I think our kids have done a good job of that. I wouldn't say it's perfect. I think we've had some many tough and challenging days, but for the most part, we've just tried to work through that. And some of that time that we didn't get to spend together, just finding other ways to grow. And I think our kids have had so much growth as individuals, as a team, and not a lot of it's been volleyball, actually. It's been a lot of other things that I know will really help these young women later in life. So just incredibly proud of them. We are, like kind of the theme, an extremely young team this year. When you look at what we graduated off of the 2019 team with Rachel Coop, an first-team all-conference setter, Carly Taylor, first-team all-conference, sixth rotation leading kill getter, and then our starting libero, Abby Stack. But then it goes beyond that. We had three seniors that also had incredible impact on our team that are not back with us due to graduation, and JJ won't be finishing out her senior year because of some medical things. But Kate Buswitz, a first-team all-conference performer as well, and Taylor Hedges, who has been on the court for us a lot as a DS and definitely had potential for us as a libero this year. So when you look at how much experience we don't have on the court, that's where I say we're really young. We have 4 juniors, I think it's 6 sophomores maybe, and 5 freshmen. So, but what I like is that there's a lot of opportunities for these student athletes. And we always, like as a coaching staff, we're talking about how all the unknowns with the pandemic. We don't know from day to day if we're going to be practicing, how many people we'll have. That can be practices, that can be a match. But I think, we have just as many unknowns on the court for our team right now. And so people have been asking me, well, who's going to be this, who's going to be that? And I think there's just so much opportunity for kids to get out there and see what they got and then go from there. We really can't say that this person is going to be our left side the entire season. Part of that's due to not knowing what we have each week, but part of that's due to not having the experience as well. The crazy thing is, all conference came out and we were picked first in the conference. And while I take that as a huge credit to our program, being honest, that's where I have us because that's where I'm going to have us each year. But if you look at on paper, it was a little bit surprising to me, but we'll take it. We also know that it means absolutely nothing. We never put a lot of stock in that, whether we're picked first, second, third, last. It really doesn't matter. It's what you do to day and the grind that you're willing to go through. But we have the conference to me is, it's going to depend on a lot of things due to the pandemic and everything. But when you look at what everyone's returning, there is not a lot of teams that have lost much, except for us. So I thought the conference was tough last year. A lot of 5-game sets that went one direction or the other, where teams might not have had a great record, but they went 5 sets with a lot of teams. So it's going to be really competitive. 10 first-team all-conference players are returning, and 10 of 13, and the 3 that aren't happen to be from our team. So a lot of teams returning, a lot of great players, and it should be a lot of fun this year. I think one of the biggest challenges for us is, we're so excited to be able to step on the court Friday. It's just a really unique thing stepping on the court for the first time with a fairly young team, and it's a conference match. You know, we usually like to have some non-conference before we have that conference match, but we will be playing Drake on Friday night. And then we will have some opportunity for some non-conference the rest of that weekend as we go to UNO and Creighton. Creighton's number 15, so 2 great matches, non-conference there. Being able to come back and then have Drake at home again, and then rounding out our regular season non-conference with number 20 Marquette. And then our conference schedule looks a lot like men's and women's basketball, where we will be playing the double round robin, and we will be playing each team twice back-to-back, and our matches are going to be on Sunday, Monday for the most part, so that's a little bit different, but looking forward to be able to get in that full conference season. And then our conference tournament, we are taking 8 teams instead of the 6 this year, and I think part of that was due to not knowing, you know, exactly how many matches everybody will be able to get in. But we'll take eight teams to the conference tournament, and that will be at Illinois State on April 1st through the 3rd. Our NCAA tournament, we're only taking 48 instead of 64, so that obviously decreases the amount of at-large bids. So it went from 32 to 16, which is obviously very different. But again, just so thankful that we even get the opportunity to get out there and compete. It's been since December 6th, 2019, since we've been able to do that. So we have some really, really anxious student athletes, that's for sure. But I would welcome any questions that any of you have.
How exciting is it, the challenge of this season with a younger team, especially that without any seniors, this is not just a core, but an entire roster that could stay together for another year or two after this?
Yeah, and I think that's what's the exciting part of it. And I think part of what makes that exciting is, you know, we're not going to get that normal spring training again that you normally would have. Spring and fall, when they're normal, look very different, and the development is very different. You really focus in on individuals and their improvements that need to be made besides the team part. And when you get into a season, you definitely are thinking more about the team. But I think that's the unique part for us. You know, we're going to have to develop individuals a lot more than probably what we would during a season, just because we have so much youth. But you know, missing that spring, it's not going to be as bad because we will return everyone that we have. We're not graduating seniors and missing out on what they brought. You know, we're not going to be missing out on what anybody's brought to us this year. So I think that's one advantage. But again, you know, there's some challenges just with like, you know, our 3 that were up here talked about. It's challenges of leadership, it's challenges of roles. You know, you don't want to push, you know, even our experienced people have not been on the court that much. So when you look at Kaylissa and Emily, they've had 1 semester of competing. And so yes, they're going to have bigger roles this year, but you can't force them into roles that they're not ready for, if that makes sense. And we won't know that until we get out on the court, and that's part of our jobs as coaches to try to direct that. But definitely looking more from some of those kids, but we also have to figure out some things, and when we get some of those other kids that haven't had the opportunity to be on the court,
You also enter this season tied for first on the conference's official wins list alongside Melissa Stokes. So the next win obviously would put you #1 outright. What does that say about you, and probably even more than that, just the success of the program and all the people who've been a part of all those wins?
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know. Things like that, it means 2 things. One, you've been at a place a really long time. That's definitely one of the things it means. But it just means the accomplishments of what so many people, like you said, have done, including you guys right here. You know, you're a part of it. And it's the fans. It's the administration. It's, you know, it's obviously the student athletes and the coaches. But there's so many people that are a part of that. And I think the coolest part about reaching those milestones is just allowing yourself to take an opportunity to sit back and think about all those people and maybe even reach out to some of those people. So I think that's the coolest thing about something like that. So we just have a really good UNI volleyball family. You know, over break, it was just, we Zoomed with so many different groups that, you know, they get together and usually in a different way, but they were Zooming over Christmas and just allowed some of our staff to be a part of those Zoom conversations. And it's just, that's why you do it, you know, to be able to have those connections later and to see the growth and what becomes of those student athletes after they leave here. And it's just a really, really neat program to be a part of.
Thanks, and good luck this
All right, thanks, Chris.
Coach, you said you can't specifically say who's going to be there or who's there, but you have to have a starting center on Friday.
We do.
If you had to name one today, who would that be?
Yeah, I think that position has been a lot of fun. Taylor basically was the one running it in the fall. Ava had some health issues and wasn't able to be in the gym a lot. And the incredible part about Ava is that she just really worked hard because, when you're out that many months, it's not just the skill set. It's just physically, how you're going to do on the court. And she did a really good job of fighting her way back and has really been a great asset to our team right now. And I think, Taylor will start as our starting setter for sure on Friday. And the other unique thing about Taylor is, we could run a 6-2. She has the ability to really do a nice job of attacking in the front row. I think right now, based on our other personnel and the fact that, we don't want to do too many crazy things when we have a bunch of new people on the court, we wouldn't do that. But Ava's ready for that. We would be confident in her going in and having to do that. But I'm trying to figure out the last time we had a true freshman on the court and as a setter, and I don't know if we have, to be honest. I was trying to figure that out before I got up here, but it's just been cool to see Taylor's development. I think, sometimes it's really hard because as a 5-1 setter, there's so many other things that you have to do, and we just really have to focus in with her. We just want you to set good balls right now. Run an offense and set good balls. Yes, you block. Yes, you serve. Yes, you play defense, and those things are going to come, and, there's a certain level we want you to be at, but that can't be why you're getting frustrated because you didn't dig a ball or you served a ball in the net, whatever it is. She's got too much other things that needs to happen because of her running the offense. So we're excited. She's a lefty. She can provide a lot of offense for herself when she starts feeling comfortable with that. So that's really exciting. And I think somebody mentioned it, but I think our team has done a really good job of making her feel comfortable, helping her through different things. Obviously, the connection is going to come and go until you get really used to the hitters that you have. And I think our hitters do a really good job of staying positive through those moments. Yeah, they both were redshirted, actually, so not true freshmen. Yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bobbi, I was going to ask you with the double rotation now on the back-to-back weekends of playing games. I know you're a coach that likes to throw in a wrinkle the second time you play a team, so how much of a challenge does this schedule provide for you and I?
Yeah, I think both ways. I think the challenge is exactly that. What kind of changes are you going to make? It's kind of like, okay, what changes are they going to make based on what just happened? And then what changes are you going to make? And it's, the next night. So I think it's going to be interesting, the whole scouting in general, but I know that all of you have heard me talk several times how hard it is to scout two opponents, two different opponents that we play back-to-back nights, and how do you work on that in the gym? How do you focus on the Saturday night opponent when you have to play the Friday night opponent? So I do think the positive side of that is, all week we're going to focus on one opponent, and that'll be a huge plus in my mind for that reason. But like you said, I have no idea how we're going to handle the changes, and I think a big part of it's going to depend on what happens that night. And as with most matches, it's really going to be, which is challenging with a team with not a lot of experience, a lot of match time decisions that have to happen, because we can do all we want to counter what happened the night before, but the opposing team is doing the same thing. So you have to be able to adjust to whatever changes they're making as well. So it'll be interesting. I definitely have picked the brains of our basketball coaches on a lot of things, but that is one of them. And their challenges are even more because they're not used to playing back-to-back nights like we are. So definitely have gotten a lot of advice from coaches for sure.
And with Drake, you mentioned scouting report. What's Drake look like this year?
Yeah, Drake is a team that returned a lot of kids, but they have some new kids that not only freshmen, but a couple transfers. Haley Bush, who was their star hitter last year, was out for most of the season. So I would look at Drake as being a very different team from what they were last year. There's not a lot we're going to get from watching any video from them from last year, just basically for that reason. I think they'll have a lot of different personnel. Emily Plock ended up being, I think she's first team preseason this year. She's just going to be even a whole lot more effective because we're not going to be able to focus just on Emily this year because of some of the people that they are returning from injury, and then the transfers that we have really no idea what they're going to be like. So again, that's why kind of wish we weren't playing Drake for the very first match of the season. You know, we'd have some video and some different ways of scouting them. But we will go in and really focus on our side of the net to begin with, and then just make adjustments as the match goes on.
Thanks, Bobbi.
Yep.
Bobbi, you played a couple of scrimmages. What were you able to learn about your team in those?
Yeah, and they were a while ago, last fall. But I think the cool thing, there were several of our players that really stepped up in that scenario. And, you know, our challenge obviously to them was, okay, this is how you performed in that kind of setting. Now we need to see that every day in practice. And then there were others that responded a little bit differently. So knowing things that we need to talk about and how we handle certain student athletes, I think was one of the biggest parts of that. And then obviously, you know, technically, strategy-wise, as far as our systems, different things that we felt, okay, we really need to spend more time on this, or, you know, this is probably not going to be a strength for us this year. So let's put a little bit more focus on the things that we are better at, and while still trying to get a little bit better at the things that we're not, if that makes sense. So we did put more, I think we could be a really good blocking team this year, and that's been an area that we've been so-so the last few years. So we have put a little bit more emphasis in that, which has been fun. I think we have some kids that, as they learn the game a little bit more, will be able to do some really advanced things blocking. And then just the serve and pass, just being in that atmosphere versus we're West Gym the entire fall training, and then we went to the serve and pass in here, which is a completely different situation. So knowing that we needed to get in McLeod to practice more was one thing.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring that up. That's kind of where I was going next. Knowing that you were training in West Gym and this 14-month layoff, whatever it is, have you now back in McLeod kind of maybe gone to a little bit extra lengths to create game-like environments when you do scrimmage, whereas maybe in years past you never thought about trying to make it more game-like? A scrimmage is a scrimmage, but
Yeah.
take extra steps given this layoff?
Yeah, we definitely do because of that. And again, especially too, because we have so many people that haven't even been in that. So even if we didn't have that many months off, we're going to have people on the court that have never experienced anything like that. And I think our game like is more the kind of pressure that we put. You know, it's a 6-on-6 drill that we find ways to put pressure on them. You know, nothing is, you know, I tell them, you know, you think this is pressure, you try being down 25-26 and you're the one back there serving, you know, like there's no way of simulating that. But we try to do some different things that provide some type of pressure and just see the reaction to that. And I think that's the biggest thing, because even the crowd, you know, I've talked to our team, you know, we're used to having a really nice crowd, you know, from week to week, we don't know what our crowd situation is going to be, and we know we're going to a lot of places that won't have anybody. So if we can't provide energy in our gym, it's going to be pretty tough. Like, we're going to have to provide our own energy, which we always encourage anyway. But, you know, when you have a young team, it's sometimes a struggle to communicate, which communication to me is the biggest way of providing that energy. So we've worked a lot on the energy, and, you know, we're going to be in mass. So that's another thing that holds back that energy a little bit. You know, you're being muffled a little bit with what you're saying. So we've had to work through some of that as well.
Have you had a chance to get into a men's or women's basketball game to see what that 15% environment's like?
Yeah, it's fine. We'd like more. It's better than nothing. You know, it's great to have people. You know, it's great to see people. Just looking forward to the time when we can have more, for sure.
Thanks, Bobbi.
Yep.
Coach, you were talking about having Emily Holderhouse move around a lot, or she was actually talking about that earlier. Will that be the plan for this year as well? Just move her around from left to right to
As of right now, Emily has been training completely as an outside hitter for us. What I would say to that is I think she will be an outside hitter for us, but maybe hitting some faster tempo things if we feel we need her to do that, to maybe side out. But as far as specifically playing middle or right, we probably wouldn't go to that right now. Now, saying that, we could have people out, based on the circumstances, and that might change. And I would feel very comfortable with her being able to play a different position if she needed to. But a lot of her training has definitely focused on just being a left side pin for us right now.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah. All right, anybody else? All right, thanks again for being here today. Really appreciate you guys.